A lot of people have always been posting for years right now on fitness journeys and everything like that. And everyone has one. I even have some fitness content lined up on my personal channel right here where you can see me lifting just because I really like it. It's something that gives me a lot of peace. But also for me, it's been a part of my life ever since before this whole fitness craze and industry took off, where a lot of young men who really just didn't feel like they had anywhere else to go except for a weight room in society, uh, this all took off. I mean, I was here for a while, and it's weird because looking at how a lot of men are here now, it's almost like we have very similar reasons, though, for being in here. And I'm not saying that I was here first to try and act like I'm better or more superior than anyone else who has picked up a weight and started a fitness journey. But I'm just saying that it's just kind of like, you know what, man, I know where you've been and I know how you're feeling, and welcome to the party. Because I think I've talked about how my middle school years of being the chubby child, and I did get a bad taste of fitness in my mouth when I was around in the sixth grade, because I had been set up with a personal trainer who kind of didn't really understand that I was new to fitness. So what does he do? He puts me on a treadmill and turns the full thing on full blast. Like, I was running a college wrestler style cardio routine as a kid who had no prior fitness experience. And when I couldn't complete the workout or I nearly passed out because of it, I was practically called pathetic, and it put a bad taste in my mouth for a couple of years. But I came back to it in ninth grade when my behavioral issues really started coming to a head. And before I finally had like a big breakdown, I really started losing weight. Because I really wasn't eating. I felt very misunderstood, and I just wanted the weight off. And it took years of therapy later, not really therapy, but years of thinking is more like it, where finally that feeling was put into words that really resonated with me, where it's like you've been thinking it, but then when someone puts it into words, it shoots off a gigantic light bulb in your brain. And the light bulb was basically that in my life, I guess I just felt like I really had no control. Like, I was saying what was going on in my life to people's faces, but they weren't really listening, or they were making a mockery of it of every way. Even my family did, which was kind of a hard hit to my ego as a kid, to the point where I kind of felt like I was underneath a sheet of ice in ice water screaming above, while everyone else is kind of just like, like laughing, even though there's clearly a problem wrong with them in front of their faces, where you really are pointing the finger at them, like, how could you miss it? But it just felt like that was the only thing in life I had control over: the amount of calories I could take in, the amount I could burn off, how good I could make my body look. Like, honestly, I feel like I was the original mogger back when I was 13, before anyone else chose to pick up mogging as a side hustle. I really don't think fitness is a bad thing. I really think that it's a good thing, but I see a lot of men who came over to the weight room because that was the only place that welcomed them in. It's just like when a kid who wants to be good is welcomed into a gang because no one else understood them and the gang wanted to exploit that. Well, can you really blame the kid for joining the gang in the first place when he didn't really have a place that really welcomed him in or called him family at all? I feel like that's the way a lot of young men in modern America feel nowadays. Because certainly they're already basically lumped in with the same standard as gangsters or men who spend time in prison, because, quote unquote, all men are dangerous and all men are bad, according to a lot of the bigger news outlets now. And it's that whole labeling effect that I learned in criminal justice class, where it's like if you label someone with something enough, they're going to get that idea in their head, and they're going to think, hey, man, I'm looked at this way, X, Y, and Z for a reason, so why not just do it anyway? And that dips into like villain arcs and everything like that. And I understand it. When you don't feel like society's giving you any option, the only place that welcomes you in is an inanimate object of a free weight that really can't say no. In fact, it gives you gratification, results, and a dopamine rush, whenever you use it. And it is a good dopamine rush. It's not a waste. It's not like internet content, but I feel like that's the only spot in society that has welcomed men in all over. Now, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing? No, but it could be in a sense. It's a bit of a bitter sweet thing, meaning I love it when people get into the gym and get enthusiastic about their fitness, but how many people really wanted that? Like, how many people really chose the life? And you could play devil's advocate and say, well, some of us just fall into our things regardless, and we never think we're going to be X, Y, and Z until we end up starting to do X, Y, and Z, and it just fits us like a glove, and we can't really explain it. You know what? Fair enough. And I never thought I would be this into fitness, as many bad tastes as it's putting in my mouth. But I really do love working out. I really do think that there's a fulfillment in pushing myself to the max. But are there any cases where someone really knows that they don't want to be there and they're just being there because they have to be there? Like, it's the only opportunity that has come their way. And I'm pretty sure that there's other times in human history where there has been, like one opportunity, things like, no, this is your life path. Like the people who signed up to fight in World War II, or were chosen to, because I don't think anyone really signed up for it. They had to do it. That was the only opportunity they have, and I think that's a little scarier than just going to a weight room. But to see the freedom of choice kind of slip away, where some people just feel like they're only there because they need to be there because that's where all their quote-unquote brethren are. It's just something that like rings a bell in my head, where I actually asked that question. And you know what? Maybe they might find their brethren in that gym, or they might find people who are more of a positive influence in that gym, but they will probably find some negative people in that gym who might make their experience pretty bad. I know, because when I started really taking it seriously, I just realized how many gym bullies past high school there are in there. And there are some people who look for weak people to prey on in the gym because they got nothing better to do and they hate their day jobs. Even though that's like kind of a tangent for another day, but it just kind of is the whole thing, I feel, where it's like, it's hard now to tell who sincerely wants to be there or they're doing it because mogging is the next best thing. A bit of an odd thought pattern, but yeah, let me know what you think. Do you actually like fitness, or is it just something you felt like this was the only opportunity you had? Peace out.